Today's session is about tracker fields and field types. Therefore, let me just little bit brief before I get into the Codebeamer and talk about and do a demo of the tracker fields. Like what you see in this typical V model, like the item definition or the system requirement spec and so on. These are different trackers in Codebeamer, and tracker is like a logical container which will hold the work items. Like when you create different system requirement spec, those are the work items, and the system requirement spec itself is a tracker. Now, even though for today's demo I'm using the automotive V model, that is the 26262, but it's the same for medical devices and other industry vertical. Therefore, the whole concept is this, that your data model, which is the tracker, is one of the building block for your data model. And what we will see today is about the field which we use for each tracker. Therefore, as I go to the next slide, as you see here, like for example, like for this tracker, like system requirement spec. Now for this tracker, it can have its own fields. That is, it can have SRS field 1, field 2, field 3. HRS, that is hardware requirement spec, can have its own field, and so on. Therefore, all the work items which I create for HRS, they will have these fields. All the work item which I create for software unit design spec, they will have their own field, which are these fields. These are just for illustration purpose, but just wanted to highlight this fact that each tracker can have their own set of fields. And what are those fields possible? That is what we will discuss, and we'll do a demo in today's session. Therefore, these are the three different types of fields which are supported in Codebeamer. One is known as choice field, where you choose, where you get a choice. It's like a drop-down menu. Therefore, there are different types of choice fields. One is like where you can define options, like option 1, 2, 3, 4, or like you talk about severity for a risk. So therefore, you can have a drop-down menu for it, or you talk about like ASIL definition. So therefore, there also you'll have A, B, C, D, and those are like the options which you choose. You can have a choice, a user picker. You can have project picker. You can have tracker picker. You can also have a work items. Now, this is what we use for building traces. If you want to build any custom trace, you leverage these choice field. Therefore, what you do is you create a choice field. Suppose if I go back, if I want to create a link from here to here, now if this link do not exist, and if I want to create this link, I want to create this trace or the traceability, then I can create a field on software requirement spec of choice field, and I can choose work item, so that when I create this requirement spec, I will have a field to go and select a hardware software interface spec. So that is what is meant by work item or work config item. And then I can also have a choice field for repository. I can have a choice field of member type, where it would be more from the users or the roles or the groups and so on. There's another type which is known as custom field. Now this is a general one which is based on the data type. Like I can have a field where the data type is text, or I can have a field where data type is integer, and so on. And then the third type which is supported is table, where you can define columns, and then as part of when you work on the work items, you can add the rows for this table. Therefore, with this, let me move on to Codebeamer. Therefore, I have it open here. I will let me go to a project. I've already configured these field types so that it's easy to do a demo rather than creating from scratch. Therefore, for example, for the system requirement spec. Therefore, what I wanted to highlight here is that uh, these are the trackers. What you see here, these are the different trackers. I'm picking up one of the tracker, that is system requirement spec, and I'm going to configure a custom field types for this. So therefore, since I have the admin right, I can select this tracker, and then I can go and say configure. Now, when I click configure, now in the tracker, each tracker can have its own permission, own states, own fields, own escalation, notification, and audit trial. what we are going to focus for today's session is on the fields. Fields are nothing but attributes. So while I am doing this, I minimize this window. I create two windows here so that it's easy to show you the changes and show you how it gets reflected. And I take one more piece of the browser or one more session next to it. Okay. Now what I did is I went to this system and then I clicked this configure and then I'm trying to configure. Now, but let me also just double click any one of them. Like suppose I go to SRS2, double click this, it opens up in a new window and you can see here a lot of fields here. Like this feels like even though you're seeing it here, it is not, it's like it is in three column view. Therefore, it's not that clearly visible. Therefore, I'll go to the edit window so that I can show you all the fields here. But okay, here also it's not very clear because this window is a small window, but we'll see. Now on this left hand side is the configuration window. Therefore, these are the custom fields which I've created. But I will create one for each type, that is choice and custom and table. Therefore, I go here and I select choice field. Now for choice field, if I see here, I have created choice project field 5. Therefore, I will create field 6. Therefore, see new choice field. Therefore, I select this new choice field and then I let me make this big and then I go and fill it up. Therefore, I call it as a custom, or I call it as a choice field 6. Okay. Now, what is this choice field? Now I can make a choice here and I can, what is a choice? The choice could be member or it could be choice or member. When you click a choice, now the choice could be options, could be user, could be project, could be any one of these. Now, for example, let me select users. If I'm just selecting users, or I can select some different field as well. I say users and field 6, for example, and then I copy and paste the same thing in the title and the description and so on I can do. Now it also says when you want to choose a user, what should be the status of the user? Like should it be, or whatever you want to define with respect to the user, you can define it here. Or you can also have some dependency on other fields which I already have it here. So I'm just skipping all that. I'm not trying to make it mandatory and all, but I'm just leaving all these things. These are all like, if I mark this as omit, it means that even if I have created this field, when this field changes, I don't want the downstream to get a suspect flag. So therefore I want them, to omit it, like don't include it for your traceability purpose. Therefore, you can also select these type of things and then say click OK. So this is a choice field. Therefore, on the top, as you see, new choice field. This is where you choose. You put a drop down menu basically. Now I click OK, and then I go and save this. So this is one of the field types known as choice. Then I go, and now since I created, this one, it goes in the last here, choice user field 6. So now if I go to this view, I cancel it and just I show you this view. So you see here the choice user field has come up here. And when you click here, when you click this, you get a user to choose. Apart from it, I can just type here, suppose one or two characters of my name, and then the name will populate. So therefore, this is how you create a choice field. Okay. The second one is this now about custom field. Therefore, let me also call it as a custom field. Custom field, this boolean is already there. Let me create a decimal, for example. So I just create customer field decimal customer field, and I call it as 8. Okay, I'm just trying to number it like this so that it's easy for me to demo different options and so on. So therefore, as you see in case of custom field, it's more driven by data type. Therefore, you can create a custom field with text, integer, decimal, date, color, and so on, Boolean or language or country and so on. And then, that's all. And then you can, again, these are about the layouts. Like since it's decimal, I can say, okay, format it based on this, or minimum I want is 1 and maximum is 2. and it should be 3 digit or something like that. I can just enter all this and click OK. Now I create a custom decimal field 8. Now if I go back and save it, now if I go to the other browser and refresh, now you see choice user field 9. If I refresh this, you will have, because I did not saved it, therefore the Amit part has gone out. Customer decimal field 8. Now if I click this, I can enter the number here. Therefore, if I entered four or 5 digits like this, it should give me some error because I set only some 2 digits or so on, right? So now I'll just enter some simple letter 2. And again, I'm not saving it. If I save it, then only it is going to remember this. But I just leave this browser as it is. Now I go back. Oh, okay, I think it's an auto save here. In the other case, I just did not click outside somewhere. Let me just do this also. I click here. Then just click somewhere, it will get saved automatically. Then I go back here. Now I create another data type known as table. Therefore, there are only 3 different field types. So now I'll go and create a table. Therefore, I'll call it as table, a table demo field, for example. Okay. And that's all. And then I just copy it, give it the same as a title. And if you want to see the row number, it's okay. Then and click OK. So now the table is created. Now I go and save it. Now you will be wondering, even though I've created a table, but I have not specified the rows and columns, you need to specify as a next step. Therefore, I go here and create a column. Suppose column is a name or number. For example, suppose I keep it as employee number, for example. Okay. And I keep it as a text, integer. And then I give the same as a title. And again, I can fill all these things. I'm just skipping it. This is one of the column, therefore table demo field column 1. Now I go and create another column where I give it as employee name. For example, these are all for illustration. Let it be text. And then I paste the same thing as title and so on and click OK. Now I have got two columns here. And now I go and save this. Now, when I go back to the other browser, as you see here, I have choice user field and custom decimal field. Now I should get a table as well. Therefore, I just refresh this. And now I get a table demo field. And now in this case, when I click this, it will show up number because I have enabled the row number. And then it shows me the employee number and the name. Now I can go and enter a row, like, I can enter suppose 4747 employee name and employee name, for example, Amit Pandey. Now I click OK. So now it just creates a table, a field with a tabular field, basically. Now I save this and this is saved. So this is how you can create a lot of custom fields. Now I'll just quickly go through the all other fields very quickly. So therefore, in the same way, like just as I showed you, you can create different fields, like in this case I created a choice, but I choose option. In the next case, like in the first one, if you see here, if I click here, this is an option because I choose the option 1 and 2. So this first one is option 1 and 2. If I go further, suppose in this members, in this case I selected members. So therefore, if I go back here, just close this. If here I selected members, therefore if I go here and look at this members, therefore if I click here, I can enter somebody's name. Like suppose if I enter Vijay, then I get his name and I can select and I click outside somewhere, it gets saved. So like this, for example, work item. Now in this case, if I click this work item, in this case, even though it's choice field, but I've selected work item and work item and then what work item, and that is displayed here, work item, and I've selected here a tracker in PS system requirement. So that means if I go here, if I click this work item and when I click this, it will give me an option to choose and it opens up a window and it gives me system requirement to select. And suppose there are two, I select one of them and click add. That gets selected, and this is how you build traceability. If you want to build traceability, you use choice and you use work item and you specify which work item you want to choose from here. Then the next one is about a tracker, then there's a project and so on. Like for example, project, the choice project, if I double click, what I'm doing is I'm choosing choice here, and here I'm saying that project is my choice. Now with this, if I close this, this is about choice project field 5. Therefore, if I go here and if I look at this project field, if I double click this, it will be a project. Therefore, it lists me all the project which is there. Again, I select any one of them and put this project. Basically, what I'm doing is I am making again a reference to a project, to an existing project. So there is like, instead of a drop down menu, it gives me all the projects which I have in access, and then I know I can choose one of it. Then comes a series of custom field. The custom field can be of a date type, can be language, can be country. Now, what it means is if I just click here, what you do is you are selecting type as a language. OK. Now, in the other case, you are just selecting type as a country. For example, if I go here, I'm just selecting type as a country. Now, in this case, if I go here, you will see here that for the date, custom field date, if I click here, you get a date picker. Like, you can pick a date like this and click anywhere outside, it gets saved. In case of a language picker, if I double click, it opens up like for example, if I double click this, it'll open up all the language possible, and it's like enumeration. Suppose I select any one of them, so Danish, and then go and click add. So like this, you can have a language field and so on. OK. Then, if I go further, I also created a table here. There's another table field known as table field. And this is the one which you see here. Now, in this case, again, it's the same thing. Like you double click this, it opens up the table schema. Now, in this case, I have defined, risk description, severity, probability, and RPN. So it shows you risk description, severity, probability, and RPN. Now here the good part is if I click this, it will show me this. Now suppose if I say risk is just say here risk 1 and give a description, and in severity I give here 3 and give a probability 2. But in RPN, if you see, this doesn't allow me to update. Now when I click OK, it shows me this data, but it doesn't calculate the RPN till I click the save. Now, once I click save, it also has updated the RPN value. How it happens? That's a computation field. So that means if I go to this table field, if I go here, it will be nothing but only the tables. It will not show me much about the columns. Therefore, I close this. Now, if I go to each column is like a custom field type. Therefore, if I click risk, it will show me the risk and the type is text and so on. But when I click the severity, it's an integer and title is severity. That's all right. But when I click the RPN, in case of RPN, I'm saying it's a compute this as this. OK, that means I am saying that this table, that is, table 0. This is the table 0. The first one is table 0. And for each row, I want to multiply row 2. Row 2 is like, is about column 2. That means this is row 0, row 1, row 2. So I'm saying multiply severity and probability to get an RPN value. So that is the meaning of this. How do you understand this syntax or know this syntax? Just click this I. It will take you to help page, and then it will explain you. It will also give you a lot of examples how to create this formulas if you want. So with this, it does the calculation. So therefore, this is how you create any computation field. Now the computation field is possible in any field. Like suppose even if I go for this custom language, there's a computed as here. Therefore, I can put a logic here and do the computation here. This is therefore with this, what we did in today's session is we covered what a choice field. We also created a choice field. We also went through some of the existing choice field, which I was pre-created. Then I also showed you the custom fields, like, which are more driven data types. And then I also showed you about table. You can also have a field which is a tabular data. In the next session, probably I'll show you like how do you create a cascading attribute. Therefore, you can also have a cascading attribute saying that this continent, and then from a continent selection you can select a country, and from a country selection you can select a language. So such type of cascading attributes also you can create, which you can refer my next video for it. Thank you. Bye.